Kia ora. Thanks for coming along. So I just wanted to quickly talk to you about Ollama and Postgres. I'm going to move pretty quickly through it, but I'll stop at various points if anyone has any questions. I think the first question is, why would you want to run a local LLM, which we'll go through, how to use it, talk a little bit about the local vector database, which is important for RAG, a little demo of how I put it together, and then if we have some time, how you would do fine-tuning in this kind of dev environment. So first of all, apologies. I know most of you are Windows and Python people in the data science world, but I am a web developer. So I'm using a Mac and JavaScript. So that's all good. I do use Python when I have to. Yeah. So what are the advantages of running a local LLM? Well, actually, I've just got 4 here, but there's more. Probably the first one is that you can have a local dev environment that you can do with whatever you want with, which I think is probably the key that I haven't mentioned. But one of the other ones is that you can keep your data private. So one of the projects I'm working on at the moment is to do with hate speech. And actually, I don't want to be throwing all of that data around. So some of it's quite sensitive, and the results are sensitive, and so it's much better just to work on that locally. Secondly, you don't need to use paid APIs. I'm sure people who have been using the OpenAI and especially Anthropic APIs have had some sticker shock at times when they've looked at their bills and go, oh, what? Because I have. But they're also really efficient. I was talking to some other people, some of the attendees here about running on this laptop, and I'm just amazed that it just stays cool the whole time. I'll show you. I'll like pass my laptop around. No, I won't. But I've these this is an M1. It's got its neural cores, and it seems to be running everything on that in shared memory, and yeah, really good. The only time it gets hot is during the fine tuning, and then it actually, yeah. Yeah, and also it's really good for learning and experimentation. I was playing with LangChain. LangChain abstracts a lot of stuff away, and especially with RAG, you're like, so cool, I'm using this thing, I have no idea what it is. How does that work behind, what's actually happening? And so I was really curious I actually want to try some of these strategies myself, things like chunking and the similarity search and stuff. So for me, the way I work, I like to get a little bit deeper, not like right into the ones and zeros, but I like to understand what I'm working on. So Ollama's first thing that I love about Ollama is it's really easy to install. You can get it for all platforms. You've got access to heaps of different models. It does the sort of classic, you can just run it on the command line, and it's like does chat completions. You can generate embeddings using it through its API. It's OpenAI compatible, so if you've been sending requests off to OpenAI, you can just swap in Ollama. It's really cute. It uses port 11434 or Llama as its port on your machine, and yeah, you can run. It uses the GGUF models, but you can make LoRa adapters, and it will create your own model card, and it will just run them locally on your computer. So it's like super flexible and does all the kind of things that you would want it to do. So what's really, the thing that I'm using a lot of in the thing I'm going to show you are these 2 API endpoints. So one is being able to just do the completions. So you can tell it what model you want and what the prompt is, and it will return that data. Similarly, if you want to do RAG and you want to do use embeddings, so that's the vectors that represent its meaning, I suppose. So you can do some operations on similarity to find other things that are related. Then yeah, you can use that as part of your pipeline. So, and also for that dev environment that I'm going to give you a demo of, it's got, I'm using Postgres. Does anyone here use Postgres? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's using the PG vector extension. So yeah, you can just uh, run a Docker container, fire up a Docker container with Postgres in it, and and after you've installed Ollama and done this, you're gonna log in, create your database, turn on the vector extension, and then create your table, and you're already there. So like in you know 15 minutes, you kind of got your um, dev environment set up for playing with all of this stuff. So I sort of flew through all of that stuff so that I could actually show you some of the code. And this is where I might actually get Jason's help with the mic. Thanks, man. Uh, Mainly just so that I can type. So yeah, I'm using Cursor. I don't know if you've tried it. It's pretty cool. It's like almost identical to VS Code, except that its AI stuff is super cool. The tab completion, whole blocks of code, and yeah, amazing. Cursor, yeah, it's a get a 2 week trial, and then it's $20 a month or something. So yeah, so with RAG, there's kind of two parts to it. There's first of all, there's taking the context. So the idea of RAG is that by providing more context to the LLM, you can get it to hallucinate less. So GovGPT, which you might have heard of in the news, is a RAG solution. So they're taking a whole bunch of government documents, doing um, a cosine similarity search to find relevant documents, and then stuffing the prompt with that so that it doesn't come up with nonsense. And yeah, this thing I've made here is just a really simple version of that. So we've got the first process. You'll have to excuse me because this was my experimentation. So there's like lots of code in here that isn't being used because I was trying lots of different things. But basically, I was starting up Postgres and then loading some text files in this case, Ernest Shackleton's diaries and logs, and then this guy Ma, who also wrote some stuff about the Shackleton adventures, and just like trying different chunking strategies, breaking up the text. So just writing simple JavaScript to break that up, and then hit this API embeddings thing here. It says Llama 3.1 here, but for this demo, I was actually using a model called Mini LM, which seems to work great for generating embeddings. And then once I generate those embeddings, I insert them into the database, and then just in this case, I was doing sentences. The demo I'm going to give you was a different chunking strategy, but this one here, yeah, I was just inserting sentences, what the chunk was, the words, and then the embedding. And then with that, I can do a similarity search and basically an SQL query which says, give me all the things which are similar in topic to the thing the person entered, and it will return a list of the top 5 most similar things, and then it stuffs those into the prompt, and then it gives you back the answer, which hopefully actually makes sense and is true instead of just a hallucination. And so the actual chat, so there's really not much to it. There's the code that does the chunking and inserting into the database, and then there's another thing which just does the interaction with the LLM. So again, I'm just hitting the Llama 3.1 model with my prompt. I've turned off the safety check just to speed up the demo, but I chucked a safety check in just so that we could not have people saying, trying to break it by getting it to say rude or mean things. The thing that gets the embedding, so it goes off, gets the embedding of the thing that the person types in, and then compares it to what's in the database. And then there's also, yeah, I won't go into that. And then it sends off with this prompt, which is like a question was asked of blah, and then it says, however, no relevant information was, sorry, that's if we don't have any information. If we do, please answer the following question using the context, which is that, and then that's all the data that comes out of my database, and it says, write your answer in the tone of Ernest Shackleton, the explorer. And I think this is actually something that Dan used or Seb did in their demo. Do not hallucinate or talk of anything other than the context provided. is very useful. And then, yeah, I've just got like a simple prompt here that that runs it. So I'll just run it here. So yeah, so Ernest Shackleton had a ship called the Endurance. So we say, what happened to the ship Endurance? And so now it's going to go, it's actually using this thing called prompt expansion, where I first asked the LLM, hey, can you take that question and just flesh it out a bit and make it a bit more interesting so I can get better matches against the database. And then it goes off and gets the embedding from MiniLM, and then it does the similarity search, and then it hits the thing. It hits the back end, the Llama 3.1. So it's, my dear fellow, it is with great sorrow that I must recount what befell my beloved ship, the Endurance. She met her demise in the icy grip, blah, blah, blah. And so I can say, did you eat your dogs? Yeah, yeah. I know the answer to that. So yeah. So again, it's going through that process, and it's actually running a couple of queries against the large language model before it comes back with the response, just to do with that prompt expansion. And then now it's actually hitting the thing, and it's like, I'm afraid the questions are rather somber. To answer it bluntly, yes. Yeah, they did. They ate 4 of their dogs, which was a bit sad. But yeah, but also you can say, tell me, how can I make a chat bot using Ollama? And so this is where the RAG factor comes in, because it's going to go off. It's going to look in the database. And it's going to say, I have no information about that. And he says, I am utterly perplexed by your query, my good fellow. Ollama, it seems, is a term with which I am not familiar. So that's kind of where the beauty of the RAG comes in, is, that you can just say, if we don't have data in the thing, then just don't do it. The cool thing about Ollama, I'll just quickly show you, is I'm using Llama 3.1 here, but actually there's all these different models in here. There's embedding models specifically, there's vision models, tool calling models, code models, all that kind of stuff. So all of those things that are there to play with. And on the command line, you can actually just run Ollama. So I ran Ollama serve before I started that. Oh, can I just make that bigger? Yeah. And I can, I can also, you can see all the different models I've been playing with. So you can just go Ollama pool, Llama 3.1. I've already got it, so it'll just fly past because it's already there. But and it'll go off to Hugging Face and download the model weights and then store them locally on a folder on your computer and then run them. It's a great way to fill up your hard drive, actually. Yeah, yeah. So but it's really cool. So you can just use whichever one you want, and you can also just run them. You don't have to write code to do it either. You can just go Llama run Llama 3. Don't have to run Llama 3.1, and then it loads that into memory, which takes a little while. And then there it is, load. And you can sort of see it's actually really fast. It was my RAG solution. I was doing all these different things which slowed it down. It's surprising. And there, my laptop's just cruising. So it's quite cool. The final thing that I was going to show you, and I do have a few minutes left if we're going for 20 minutes, was fine-tuning. So that was like the area that I've been looking at just recently. So, fine-tuning a model is really useful. You can take a model, like a really great model like Llama 3.1, and then do some fine-tuning to make it do more of what you want. As I was saying, I'm doing some work with hate speech. At the moment, I'm trying to assess comments for hate speech in a museum context. Doing that seems to be working, the fine-tuning. So that's really cool. Looking forward to Dan's presentation, because I'm going to use that knowledge that I learned today. But it basically, it can improve the quality of response. It might be faster in production than a RAG solution. Helps you control the output of the LLM. I saw an example where someone had a code LLM that responded with Python, and he ran some fine-tuning with JavaScript examples, and then I only ran it again, and it was doing JavaScript. All the answers were coming out in JavaScript. So like that stylistic sort of, response is really interesting. And so the cool thing is that with Ollama, you can use these things called LoRa adapters. And I was blown away by how easy it was once I figured out how to do it. Took a while to get there, but on a Mac, you've got this thing called MLX, which is an Apple project. It's open source, and it's just a set of tools. So I was able to install MLX. I had to use Python, and then install the Hugging Face CLI, log in. For Llama, you have to then go onto the website and say, I would like to use the thing. I promise not to do anything mean with it. And then they approve you. It takes about 24 hours. And then when I run MLX, LoRa, train, blah, 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 I won't show you the way to structure the training data. But at the end of my contact details, if anyone wants this presentation on my notes, totally happy to share it. It then goes off, and this is where your laptop starts to get hot. And I've got 32 gig of RAM, so it's using to fine-tune the 8 billion parameter version of Llama 3.1, which is surprisingly capable. I'm blown away by how good those 8 billion parameter models are. So that, I can't remember how long that took. It was 15 minutes or something. I don't know. Can't remember. And then you can sort of see the loss going down, which is pretty cool. Starts quite high and then goes down. And then at the end, it generates this, the safe tensors files. And you just need to make a model file like this. And then you run these two commands, and it actually adds that to your list of models that you can run. So you'll notice there when I have Ollama list, you can see there's comment check. That's my fine-tuned model loaded into Ollama. And so, super easy to use, really flexible, lots of possibilities for, experimenting on your own PC. Apparently you don't need a lot. I've been reading a lot. 100 records is like, seems to get a good result. I'm kind of interested in that myself. Yeah. Some people are saying you can do it with like less, even like 50 will make a difference. I mean, it's, in this case, it's like it's a JSON-L file, which is bizarre because it's like a string of JSON with no comma, and then another one, and just in a thing, and you just have prompt and response, or I think it is, and then you break that file up into 3 chunks, so one for training, one for testing, and one for validation. As long as they're in that format, you run that command I had in the previous slide, and it just does the job. Yeah, super easy. So, yeah. Yeah, for that one it is. Yeah, and it's I'm really lucky because I'm working with Te Papa on it. Hey Tom, and we've got stacks of data from heaps of toxic comments, which have already been labelled. Hey, yeah, which is great. So hey, thanks. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. But also, if you want to email me, is my email address, or that's my LinkedIn on the QR code. If you want to connect, please do. As I say, really happy to share my notes for this doc. I realize I flew through that extremely fast, but hopefully it excites you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Robin. We can also post, we've got a GitHub repo. We could post maybe some things up there if you're up for it. Let's see. Well, we've got the pizzas here. So why don't we actually, before we rock on to the next one, just come up and grab a slice of pizza, and then I'll get started on the next one. How does that sound?